lovely people, it's Gigi here, and today we've got a proper juicy topic to dive into. So grab your tea, get comfy, because we're talking about the substance. And trust me, this film will leave you thinking about some pretty intense topics, but in the best way. But more importantly, it sparked a conversation I think that we've all needed to have. The whole self-loathing thing with women and how women are treated as we age, and the crazy pressure to stay young and desirable. I know it sounds heavy, but stick with me all right. So first things first, the substance. It's crazy. It's billed as a body horror film, but honestly, it's much more than that. It's a film that really gets into how women are treated, especially as we get older. It's about fear, self-hatred, and the pressure that as we get older to stay youthful. And the best part, it sparked interesting conversations, which is exactly what we're going to be doing today. So first off, self-loathing, the self-loathing trap. Why are we always not enough? Okay, let's talk about self-loathing because the substance dives into it in a really big way. And honestly, I think we've all been there. I know I certainly have. I've battled with the feeling of becoming more and more invisible and less employable as I age. That feeling of not been good enough, not been thin enough, not been young enough, pretty enough. It's hammered into us from adolescence. And that film really brings this to the surface in such a raw and visceral way. You watch the main character struggle with the idea that she's just not enough, and it's painful to watch. But at the same time, it's real, and I'm sure that you have felt it too. How many times have you looked at yourself in the mirror and thought, I'm just not like those other women on social media, I'll just add a filter, or I'm getting too old for this? It's the worst feeling, but the crazy thing is we just don't get this from the world around us. We start to internalize it. We believe it because society keeps telling us that our value is all about how we look, how young we are. And the moment we start to age, well, that's when the pressure really amps up, isn't it? And you are told that you need Botox, Ozempic, crazy neon white veneers, hair extensions, fat freezing, silicone implants, eyelash extensions. I mean, the list goes on. It's exhausting. Let's get into aging for a moment. I don't know about you, but this movie really touched a nerve with me. Do you feel sad when you look at pictures of yourself, say 10 years ago? Do you feel like you've let yourself down, that you've failed in some way, that you lost something, that you didn't measure up? In your 20s, you're praised for your looks all of the time, your potential. Life feels like an endless prairie full of possibilities. But now, in my 50s, I feel like I'm more confined to a small, barren patch of land with little room to roam. The minute you hit your 40s or beyond, it's like, bam, the world forgets about you. You're past it or you're suddenly invisible. The film absolutely nails that feeling of being discarded when you don't forget or fit into that young and sexy box anymore. It happens all the time, right? We see it all over the media and in real life. Women full of life experience and wisdom ignored. Society tells us that after a certain age, we're done. And don't get me started on aging gracefully, because what that really means is look young, but not too young. Have that cool old look. It makes us feel like we failed by just existing. What are we supposed to be? We don't know. And now let's talk about hypersexualization, because the substance does not shy away from that at all. Here's the thing. We're raised to believe that being desirable is the ultimate goal. That's what we're told from the moment we become adolescents. But then the second we lean into our own sexuality too much, or show our bodies, we're shamed for it. We're trying too hard or being too much. If we wear a mini skirt over a certain age, we can never win. The movie shows how damaging this is, because it's like, on one hand, society is telling us that our value is on how we look and how attractive we are. We have to look good for our age. But when we actually embrace it, we're shamed for it. We're narcissistic. And when we get older, it's like we've crossed this invisible line where we're no longer allowed to be sexy or desirable or anything that makes us feel confident in our skin. The substance makes this point loud and clear. And if you can't keep up with this impossible standard, you're discarded, you are less valuable. But a quick shout out to the performances, because Demi Moore, she is on fire in this film. She has this raw power that makes you want to look at the film all of the time. You're hypnotized. And Margaret, Qualley, she's the real star here. She's got this haunting, vulnerable energy, and you can feel every bit of her character's insecurity and strength. She's brilliant. And did you know she's Andie MacDowell's daughter? I've always loved Andie MacDowell. You've probably seen her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and The Maid. But this performance, it's the one that's going to make her a major star. Keep an eye on her, because she's going places. But anyway, let's talk about the good stuff. In the middle of all this chaos, the substance shows us something really powerful. Rebirth, reinvention. The film shows us that yes, we are constantly bombarded by impossible standards, but we don't have to let that define us. We can define ourselves, no matter how old we are. In the end, aging doesn't have to be the end. It can be a new beginning, a chance to strip away all of the superficial nonsense and say, this is who I am and I'm okay with it. It's about reclaiming your power, your worth, and not letting society tell you who you should be. And that's honestly one of the most empowering messages that you can take from this film. So here's my takeaway. The substance may be a bit of a horror film, but it's about something more scarier, and that's being tossed aside as we get older. We don't have to let that happen. It's time we reclaim our narrative and stop hating ourselves for not being perfect. Stop letting society tell us we're too old or too much. Stop letting the world decide that our worth is based on our looks. Remember, my friend, aging is not the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one where you finally get to be the real you. So let's own it together, shall we? If you're feeling the same, let's chat in the comments. Have you seen The Substance? Did you find it a crazy movie? Do you struggle with that feeling of not being enough? Or maybe you found ways to shake it off. I would love to know. And of course, if this resonated with you, give it a like, subscribe, and let's keep talking about the stuff that actually matters. Cheers, everyone. Until next time.